Well, I met an actual mad scientist this week. He works in a cool lab in downtown Overland Park, and we'll take you there in tonight's Friday Night Flights. It's the science of making beer that Bart Campbell loves most.
It's taking all these chemical processes, harnessing them to produce something that everyone wants to drink and have a good time with. And that's the art of it.
Campbell creates his drinkable scientific art in downtown Overland Park.
And we're Brew Lab, so I kind of think of myself as the mad scientist in the lab getting to do crazy ideas, and it's been a lot of fun.
He admits that sometimes his crazy ideas just get weird. More on that in a bit. The first thing you should know about Brew Lab is that this is much more than just a brewery.
We do about 4 things in here. You know, we make beer, we serve beer, we cook food, and then we also teach people how to brew beer and make beer.
Turpin says Brew Lab is one of only about 20 places in the country and the only place in KC that holds classes where people are taught how to make beer. They call it a brewing experience.
We started as a little home brewing supply store.
That was back in 2013 when they sold supplies to home brewers. Brew Lab still does that today, but since opening the brewery and restaurant, they've had to get laser focused.
We had to make a real hard focus shift and say, we're going to be Overland Park's neighborhood brewery, and we're going to make the beers that we love to make and the beers for everyone, but focusing on those that, if you live within a 3-mile radius of where we are, we're your brewery.
Johnston says the decision to open a full-service kitchen was a game changer.
These guys chose to go from doing the brew on premise in a homebrew supply store to getting in the restaurant business. And I think it took us a little while to get everybody to come to the realization, you're in the restaurant business now. And it's not easy. You know, you got to roll your sleeves up and work.
Clearly, they have a lot on their plate at Brew Lab, but at the end of the day, it's all about the beer.
I always said if it makes dollars, it makes sense. And, you know, people will pay for beer.
And that takes us back to our mad scientist who says half the fun of making beer is experimenting, which is how he created beer in a barrel that they now call unintended outcome.
That barrel had whiskey, and then cider, and then gin, and then beer, and now beer again.
That sounds weird.
It does sound weird, and it's a weird beer, and I kid you not, when I first tried it out of the barrel, you know what my thought was? Lemon lime Gatorade. That doesn't sound like a very good beer, but it turned out awesome.
Unintended outcome is just one of more than a dozen of Brew Lab's beers. I tried their Braggot combination, which is half beer and half blackberry and honey mead.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers. Oh, I like this a lot.
It was very tasty.